Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard, along with your host, Bill Stierle, and today we're going to talk about the power of being controversial, that there's power in being controversial, and we want to talk about several examples today, and one that we just can't help but, lead with here, and it's not all about this person, but this is a good example. The day we're recording this, Bill, the night before, Tucker Carlson on Fox News Channel called for his audience to start direct action. He told them to confront people wearing masks, which he says are signs of political obedience. He maintained that 64% of white Americans who call themselves liberal or very liberal have been diagnosed with an actual mental health condition. That's not controversial, is it, Bill?
Yeah, I think it sort of is. Yeah,
it sort of is. He called them aggressors and told supporters it's our job to brush them back and restore the society we were born in. And this is the real shocking part. He said to call the police immediately if they see children wearing masks and keep calling until someone arrives. It is child abuse, he says, and his audience is morally obligated to prevent it. I'm pretty used to hearing shocking things come out of Tucker Carlson's mouth, controversial statements. This one is sort of a level, I'd say 8 on the scale of 10, 8 or 9. But he is commanding power with his audience through making controversial statements like that, isn't he?
Yeah. So step one, it's many folks would want to get on the bandwagon and immediately push back. I want to pull through, and what pull through is that you greet statements like this with compassion and empathy. Now, for a listener right now, they're going like, "What did Bill just say? What do you mean?" Go after this with empathy and compassion. And for the people that have listened, it's we're stuck as human beings getting caught in the effects of branding and marketing and controversial messages. The ability to apply empathy and compassion for Tucker Carlson's statements is he feels a longing for, a yearning for America that had a simplicity to it, that had a purity to it, and had a freedom to it, and had an ease to it that was before the time of a pandemic, before the time of 600,000 deaths, before the time. That's not the time we're in, but he has a longing for that. And I want the world to be back the way it was. And I am going to say and do things to get the world to be back the way it was. And my followers, my believers, the people that are listening to me also want that thing. And he's right. And, I kind of want us not to wear masks. And I kind of want the freedom that it used to be. And I kind of wanted the ease and the simplicity of a non-virus, and whether the listener likes it or not, the biggest problem is the more human beings you have on the planet, the more opportunity as an infectious disease gets to run, and because it passes from one person to the next person to the next person, the next person, but the power of a controversial statement allows him to get respect. That's his need. Him to get acknowledgement, him to purchase truth on his side, because I don't want my kids to wear masks either. I don't want them to feel the constrictions of a disease either. I don't want them to be the carriers of a disease from one person to the next. It's also for a kid, I want to teach them congruency. It's sort of like following the letter of the law for the good of the society. Huh? Yeah, that's what laws are the same as a mask. It's something that doesn't need to be mandated legally. But I'll tell you what, if we had piles of bodies stacking up in a city, it would not be outside the state's duty to make it mandatory and legally, legal things if the numbers were like that. And it's like one village in England during the plague. No one in, no one out of this castle. And guess what? No one in, no one out. They didn't get the infection. No one in, no one out of this castle. Yeah. I know you want to leave, but if you leave, you cannot come back in this castle. All of us in here, we're healthy. Everyone out there, it's not healthy. We're not, whatever's out there, we don't want in here. That's what the mask is. Same thing. I don't want that thing near me. Whatever that thing is, whatever that mysterious thing is. And when somebody is being controversial like this, they're angry because things like independence, freedom, have got to be traded for the collective good or the cooperation of the good of others. And how a person does it by choosing to wear a mask or choosing not to wear a mask, is you want to choose not to wear a mask. Well, I'm going to choose to walk away from you. See, it's framed completely different. So it's horrific for a public figure to say called child support for child abuse. And that's just the need for protection. That wasn't met by the government by allowing the virus to get here, or doing some more mitigation pieces, or being a little bit stronger on these things, or taking the leadership in order to, stop the thing that needed to be stopped.
Well, and it's not like, that what's controversial about the statement is he's reducing it to child abuse to make children wear masks. Well, I got news for Tucker Carlson here. In Southern California, we have kids in school, in person, full time now in the spring of 2021. And the school district requires the children wear masks to school. If a kid shows up without a mask to school, they give them one. It's a requirement. Our airlines, it's a federal law right now that you have to wear a mask on airplanes. And in fact, another bit of news, Bill, is that there is an Alaska state representative who has now been banned from Alaska Airlines because of not complying with the federal law requiring masks on airplanes. And she was, treating flight attendants very badly on the airline. The airline said, that's it, you're banned from the airline. And that Alaska state senator had to drive from where she lives in northern Alaska 14 hours to Juneau in order to be able to vote on a law that was, up for vote in the state legislature, because she couldn't fly. Because guess what? Up in Alaska, there's only Alaska Airlines. And there's nothing else in these remote cities people live in. So, this is not a choice for a lot of people in a lot of situations. Tucker Carlson made this controversial and made it sound like, yes, you're right, pitting mask wearing against freedom. And that's pretty darn controversial. But, and I may, if I keep talking about this, Bill, get really worked up about this
Yes,
issue.
that's right.
But
That's right. The feeling, that's your feeling is right, because it doesn't meet your need for truth. I mean, your body's doing what everybody else's all our listeners are doing right now. You're going to get worked up about how could somebody put pressure on social services? How could somebody make the pandemic last longer by creating a controversial statement? And the power of making a controversial statement is you're taking a stand for something that you can get other people on the bandwagon about. And there are people and there are followers that get on the bandwagon of both people on the right and people on the left. There are people that jump on the bandwagon. There's people on Don Lemon's bandwagon. There's people on, that used to be on Rush Limbaugh's bandwagon, or, Glenn Beck's bandwagon. And there's enough revenue there, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million people that will pay money for that controversial statement. These people are speaking up and becoming the lightning rod, which is a part of, here comes good branding and good marketing. It's a part of the process of getting people to pay attention to me. Tucker Carlson will not have a TV rating unless he has some controversy in his narrative about tree hugging liberals, or, the woke people, or whatever the branding marketing phrase is that the person's using. The person's just trying to get something to stick. And you will see that in like outspoken professional athletes. They'll say something. They'll take a knee. Colin Kaepernick, he took a knee.
And that was very controversial at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, in order to make a stand. It's kind of like, somebody's got to say something about this. I'm seeing that. I happen to have a platform. I want to figure out what the best way to do it. I'm going to take a knee. The twist that would have been is, I'm praying for his best second marketing message, by the way, as he took a knee. I'm praying for the people, the African Americans that are dying through police violence. If he would have put that next to his kneel, now he's got police violence next to prayer.
Wow.
So a brand is taking the knee. A marketing message is the good reason you're doing it for. It's called the I always come up with really important branding phrases, by the way. It's called the branding sandwich. You have a brand message, you have a marketing message, and then you reinforce it with a brand message. It's McDonald's coming on first with loving it, and then at the very end they say McDonald's loving it, and then in the middle is the marketing piece.
And so it puts one next to the other, so you associate it. And if you think about it, it's not too different from what Tucker Carlson did, putting mask wearing next to child abuse.
Correct.
So he's trying to make that be seen at mask wearing seen as bad.
That's right.
As bad as.
And also, and that's the power of being controversial is that we're trying to get things to sit next to messaging, to set next to things. And whether it's, and you've heard this slogan, even bad news is good news. I mean, bad news is not necessarily bad news.
I've heard there's any press is good press. I mean, that's typical in business. I mean, I think there are obviously exceptions to that. But because I'm sure Dominion Voting Systems is not going to agree with that statement after what happened after the 2020 election and how they were demonized. That press got so bad they sued over it, right?
Yeah, and they have branding problems, because of, as soon as somebody takes a message and sticks it next to a brand and starts painting marketing messages in that direction, then you get a situation or circumstance regarding Planned Parenthood. anybody that's driving by a Planned Parenthood building is thinking, oh, that's the place that does abortions. And the answer is, yeah, like 5% of their work is there. It's women's health is what it is. It's women's health and women's care and the medical to do medical, but it's not. And it does offer that opportunity as with as much mindfulness and care and sensitivity as it takes for a woman to make that decision to meet her need for choice. And no one likes that experience. It's just, this is the person's choice that we're not taking away. So it's really hard.
And
it's
you
really
even
hard
see
discussion.
it in things like our commercials on television, Bill, don't we? I mean, what, we were talking before, and you were talking about the Geico commercial where they said, so easy a caveman can do it. So what that's pretty controversial, but what, I mean, what is that? Let's unpack that one for a second.
Well, it's really good because you're picking on somebody that is extinct. You're being politically incorrect, calling cavemen stupid, so easy. And then all of a sudden they're apologizing and saying, I didn't know you guys were still around. They're sitting around a coffee table and apologize, a lunchroom table, and these well-dressed cavemen are sitting there and looking at, and they're looking at the attorneys and say, God, listen, I didn't know you guys were around, and it became offensive to cavemen because and that type of controversy, turning messages on their heads, and because there's nobody around to defend that person. Whereas, as that, a certain belief and a certain mindset that was, let's say, born 200 years ago or 300 years ago, would not be able to function well with all the decisions that they would be faced here now, because they have no bandwidth. They have no belief structure. You think that, well, they're smart, that there were smart people back, 200 years ago. Yeah, but push a cell phone in front of them cold, the learning curve, the belief curve is so steep. So what branding and controversial does is it trickle feeds into a belief bias that then both inflames one population that gives traction to the message and inflames another one. It throws fire in one direction and it lights the stove in the other direction. It lights it lights the fire in one direction and throws the flame. That's the way it goes. Lights the fire first and then throws the flame on others. So there are going to be people that are going to take Tucker Carlson literally. It's not until there's a direct sentence that is directly accountable that some attorney may want to try to take Tucker Carlson on again, because they've tried to take him on once and they said any reasonable person would know not to listen to him because he is entertainment. And that's the message that was made in court to defend Tucker Carlson's free speech.
So while
people
on the one
should know
hand,
better.
While on the one hand, I get so worked up because of the controversial statement he makes. I can't believe how shocking it is. What I really need to realize is this is just Tucker Carlson being Tucker Carlson, trying to get eyeballs to watch his show.
That's it.
And he's trying to keep people that are in alignment with his kind of statements and thinking, coming back for more.
Yes.
Because it's so shocking. Oh my gosh, it is child abuse, whatever. And then, you have people like me that are so shocked at the outrageous statement that I want to pull the plug for my television and not watch it again.
That's correct.
That really it's about the power for him
That's power. That's right.
of maintaining eyeballs. And really, branding and marketing, controversial statements are about trying to get you to remember the brand, like remember the brand, get that message to stick, which it's very effective when you think about it, the controversy.
Yes, that's right. Branding is get an impression, create a memorable moment, and then let other people know that you're in their group.
And it seems that a lot of our politicians that dominate the news are guilty of the same thing. They're all making controversial statements, even if they have to walk them back, or even like whether it's Mitch McConnell or Jim Jordan making a statement in a hearing. He's like one of the biggest, isn't he?
Yeah, they're all and the Democrats are poor at it because
I agree.
because they don't go as controversial. They're picking something that is generally reasonable for reasonable person to agree upon, and yet the other side's going like, sorry, we're throwing Molotov cocktails at you, which is a lit bottle of gasoline with a rag at the end of it that's lit, and as soon as the bottle breaks, the gasoline blows. That is the power of being controversial. And the unsettling part about it is that government has moved to the place where capitalism has moved its way through money, moved its way into the sphere of the place, and the greater good or the public good or the honest good or the truthful good can't necessarily get out there fully, on both sides. I've gotten an email from one of our listeners and saying, hey, Bill, here's some things you need to know about conservatism, and here's some of the things that left, here's some of the money and stuff that's being spent on programs that I don't really agree with. And she's right. It's like some of those things on their list, I'm going like, yeah, I probably wouldn't spend for that either. It's like, who lined their pockets with that one? Well, as a part of, if I'm going to buy something, if government keeps moving in the direction of being bought, I'm buying my representative, I'm buying my spokesperson, I'm buying my mouthpiece. See, I'm not paying for integrity, I'm paying for a mouthpiece. See how unsettling that is? Just as I say it there, it is. So if you take a look at this from the business standpoint, business has a little more sensitivity, but they also kind of struggle with the old school, which means let it go, don't fan the flames, let the mistake go into the past. So, for example, where United Airlines has a customer drug off, it's instead of waiting to let the plane know that it can't leave until one person leaves, and asking for a volunteer to come from that viewpoint, and paying for the person rather than dragging somebody out of their seat. That's not a good strategy, because somebody's going to film it. And that goes to our last episode of, the cameras are everywhere now.
Right.
Because that's happened in the past. People have been drug off the planes and nobody knew about it before the age of video.
Right. No, that's true.
Nobody knew about somebody being drug off a plane. And that's happened many times. A drunk person, or this person, or that person. And things that were that were for the good, they were for the good of the other clients, customers that are on the plane. And the airline says, no, we're dragging you off. The person says, no, I bought my ticket. It's like, everything from you're wet, you smell, you're this, you're that, whatever the reason was. And they never had to give a reason before video, but now it's the thing. So it's really our sensitivity to market responses, and then being compassionate for both sides, the person that is losing their choices, as well as the persons that are getting their needs met, through the process or through the greater good. I don't like it that the economy is shut down. I don't like it. I want to be able to speak from stage and travel and promote and connect with people in the environment to contribute the message. Guess what? I'm choosing to meet the need for safety and protection, and there's none of those events are big enough for me to go to. So that's the tension of the opposites. That's the biggest problem and stuff. So more to come on this next time, but I really think that there's some more messaging to talk about the branding sandwich and how its relationship to marketing and how to better communicate with compassion and empathy, even though somebody says something really, really tragic.
Even in the face of the big controversial statement. Yeah.
Even in the face of it.
Okay, Bill. Thanks so much.
All right. More to come. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.